Good morning, Knights. This morning we are lucky enough to have our Veterans Day performer, Rockie Lynne, with us to chat about his life and his work with veterans. We appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's my honor to be here. It's a pleasure to see you. And you as well, Jared. Yes, sir.
How long have you been performing at West Middle School?
At the middle school here, I think this is my third year. It's my third year coming here. I was asked to come here 3 years ago by Sergeant Major Watts' wife, Regina, who you probably know as Miss Watts, right? And it was such a pleasure for us because Veterans Day is busy. I think over the next 5 days we have like 7 gigs in 7 different cities all over the country. But I wanted to make time to come here every year because of the type of commitment that you guys make for veterans. I love that you put the show on, that you guys put the show on, not the teachers, the students do. And it's a real joy to see such patriotism and esprit de corps, if you will, with the young generation. So I'm proud to be a part of it for my 3rd year now.
Thank you. What brings you back to our school each year?
All those things I just said.
That answers the question. When did you start performing?
My whole life. I grew up at a place called the Barium Springs Home for Children, which is an orphanage down in Troutman, North Carolina, and had almost no adult role models in my life. But as a young child, this man came and played guitar. His name was Niley Binge. And I remember that. It made such an impression on me as a child. And I knew the first time that I heard the guitar and someone playing it that I was going to do that my whole life. That's what I'm going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had no idea what the steps were, and obviously I didn't know how to play it. I still don't. I'm still trying to learn. That'll be a lifelong process. And that's what I'm going to talk about today as we have our meeting, is how you get from what you want to do to what you actually do.
Are there any other schools that you perform at?
I do. I'm a regular speaker at Berkeley College of Music. I speak at a lot of colleges and universities around the country. I also speak at a lot of, I think you would call them like reform schools, like the North Carolina Boys Academy, and in Oregon there's like a military school. Anytime it's asked of me to come and speak to someone, I will. And because it's really more about, life should never be about the income. It should always be about the outcome. And I never had an adult reach out to me and say, you can do this. So as an adult, if I'm able to do that for you, I'm going to do that. So the answer is yes. I speak at a lot of schools.
Okay. Are you a veteran yourself?
I am. Directly out of high school, I went to the United States Army. I spent 6 years in the Army, 3 years in active duty, and 3 years in the reserves.
Okay. What division were you part of?
I was in the 82nd Airborne Division, which is stationed at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. And it was really cool to be in my home state and to be there. And it is true that we did jump out of airplanes, but it's not true that I was brave, because I was afraid. And mine was really more of a push. They more like kind of followed. I followed the guy in front of me, and the guy behind me pushed me out. Because at 107, which is how old I am now, I'm 107, I wouldn't jump out of an airplane. I wouldn't even let you push me out of an airplane now. But when you're 18, you just kind of do what they say.
We understand you do a lot of work with veterans. Why do you believe this work is so important?
I think it's important because if we were sitting today in Kyrgyzstan or Afghanistan or Syria or Raqqa or Mosul, this conversation wouldn't happen. You wouldn't even be allowed to be in the school. So if the conversation did ensue, it would just be you and I. And we would not be able to discuss our government or our politics or what you might want to do when you grow up. And it's because of veterans that we are able to have these freedoms and have these abilities in our life to do whatever we want. And I think it's important that we not only acknowledge it, but that we celebrate it and that we bring it to the forefront every single day, because it hasn't always been this way. And the farther we look back at our history, the more clearly we can see what our future is going to be. And so for me, it's the thing that the first person that ever said anything positive to me as an adult, the first human being that ever said anything nice to me as a grown-up was my drill sergeant in basic training. His name was Staff Sergeant Cowan, and he said to me, if you can do this, you can do anything. And I was naive enough to believe that. And then I was able to achieve the wonderful life that I have, and I have a very blessed life now. And it's because one man took the opportunity to point me in the right direction, and that was a veteran. And so if I spend the rest of my life thanking him and trying to return that or pay it forward, so to speak, then that's the right thing for me to do.
What is Rolling Thunder,
Rolling Thunder is a motorcycle veterans awareness organization that focuses on the POW MIA. POW stands for Prisoners of War, and MIA stands for Missing in Action. Every time that our government has sent people off to war, there have been situations where certain people did not come back. Now obviously, like in Vietnam, 58,479 people died. But there were 1,679 people we don't know what happened to this day. As we sit here in November 2017, they don't know what happened to 1,679 people. So in 1975, I believe it was, Artie Mueller and another gentleman started an organization called Rolling Thunder. And what we do is we make people aware that our government has sent people off to war and not yet accounted for who they are and where they are. And it is our belief that the government should do that, and that's what we advocate. And we advocate that by once a year going to Washington, D.C. with 1 million motorcycles. Now you'll see a bunch of them here today, they're coming, but we have 1 million in D.C. We go, they shut the streets down, and we ride through the streets peacefully. And we ride through the streets loud on our motorcycles and say, bring them home. If you send them, bring them home. And that's what Rolling Thunder is.
What is the message that you have for the West Wilkes Middle School students?
The message that I'm going to bring today is called 7 things that will guarantee that you will succeed in life. I'm going to change your life today. You're going to learn 7 things that if you do these 7 things, you will succeed. You will be a financial analyst. You will be a news anchor. You will succeed in whatever it is you're setting out to do in life. And one thing that will absolutely, positively guarantee that you will fail. And that's what I'm going to talk about.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for just being here today and helping us support veterans.
It's my honor. Thank you for having me, Jared. It's a pleasure. Young lady, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.